Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Red. I am Monique Anderson. I'm with the Red Painting Society, and this evening, our guest speaker was supposed to be Dr. Jamila Franklin, who was unable to join us, and we were fortunate enough to have in her place the esteemed psychotherapist Tien Sydnor-Campbell. Tien is actually a member of the Red Painting Society also. She is a self-love and acceptance coach with a professional background as a body-centered psychotherapist. She's also a certified massage therapist with experiences spanning over 2 decades. Tien helps to empower others in managing the imbalances of the body, mind, and discovering their personal love story by utilizing the body to help tell whatever narrative that person has and uses mental health counseling to process the psychological material. Tien's counseling certifications are in the area of trauma-informed and trauma-focused methodologies with outcome-based measures. Hi, Tien. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. I sound so important.
You are important.
I love the way that sounds, though. I do. Well, good evening, everyone who's joining us on this beautiful evening. Just had a wonderful day myself, doing a little self-love at the beach today, letting the ocean waves wash over me. It was a beautiful day. So, just to get the conversation started, I don't know that we have any questions to get started, but I would like to start talking about the best way that I have found to help people to start their personal growth and specifically self-love and acceptance. So let me start with that. One of the things that I've noticed over the last 5 years of my professional work is that people really don't know how to stop and take a deep breath. You run around because we live in a very fast-paced society and things are always going, going, going. And you go from the time that your alarm clock, which is usually your cell phone now, gets you out of bed and you start your day. So you start and you get going until you just don't have anything left to do and you come home and you crash. And if you do that day in and day out, Monday through Friday, and sometimes Saturdays and Sundays, it is extremely important that you take time to take a deep breath. And people will say to me that they don't have time to take a deep breath, but I'm looking for the times that you can, because it really only takes about 30 seconds of deep breathing to change exactly what's going on with you. Um, Literally. If you take that deep breath in, like when you go to the doctor's office and they put the stethoscope on your back to see if your lungs are working, and you stop and take a deep breath, we're talking about 30 seconds of breathing. Taking that time will help connect you to your body, and it will stop you from running yourself ragged. Um, would you say, it's true. A lot of people don't. They're like, I don't have time to take a deep breath. You have time to take a deep breath at a red light.
So would you say that basically, because I think, and I'm new to meditative practices and that whole arena, so I totally understand the position of not having time to do anything for yourself, because as women especially, and I have to gear my conversation as far as women are concerned because that's what I know. But
Exactly.
as far as women are concerned, we wear so many hats. I don't know one woman who doesn't have literally 3 jobs. If
Right.
she has herself, she has, if she's married, she has a spouse, she has children, she may have a job outside of her home, in which case I'm up to 4 jobs now. Um, which
Hmm.
means the primary job should be the self, but how often do you think we make ourselves the last job on the list? And how is it how can we move shift that to where we're into the top position to take care of ourselves? How would we do that?
Okay, so one of the first things is you have to literally say, I've got to do this now. And it's a matter of, it's a matter of, and my favorite quote from Yoda is, there, do or do not, there is no try. So when I say you have to literally do it, I mean you have to literally just do it.
Okay.
You have to take a deep breath. That's the first thing. If you don't take that deep breath, if you don't take the time to take a deep breath, you can't put yourself first. And women will run themselves into the ground, and we see it every day. We see it in the number of medications that we take in order to manage ourselves, from pain medicines to antidepressants to anti-anxiety medications to you name it. There are all kinds of reasons that our bodies are telling us all the time, even the upset stomach, indigestion, heartburn. There are all kinds of ways our bodies are telling us to slow down and take a deep breath and listen. And it's because we tend to ignore those. So the first step is to literally begin to listen, not just to the kids crying, not to someone complaining about something that hasn't been done, but to listen to your body first. If you just take what happens when you get up in the morning and you feel the need to eat breakfast, right? You listen to your body when it says to eat, right? You
Right.
listen to your body when it says it's time to go to the bathroom. Oh, but wait, actually, I know women that will hold it because they want to control the body and say, nope, I don't have time to go to the bathroom right now.
Right.
And and it's those kinds of things where you have to literally stop trying to control your body and let it tell you what's going on. The more you listen to it, the easier it will be to connect to your gut instinct on taking care of yourself. So the
Okay.
first step is really to just to take a deep breath and listen to what your body is saying, because it talks to you all the time.
Do you find in your practice, this is a question I just got, do you find in your practice with your clients that a lot of people don't know how to breathe?
Yes. You say take a deep breath and they go, no. And so a lot of times I will spend time introducing them to taking a deep breath, because when you start to inhale and continue to inhale until your lungs are full and then let it go slowly, you will find that the taking of a deep breath takes way longer than what you normally do, because it's an automatic thing that we do, but we don't realize how often we're holding our breath or shortchanging it and not allowing us the time to fully take a deep breath. And that's why the meditative practices are becoming more popular now. I think that being mindfulness and awareness are both, they're coming up in the psychological world as something that they're saying scientifically now. Before it was just like, oh, take a deep breath or, relax or whatever. Now the doctors are literally saying, you know what, you probably could use some meditation. You could probably use some yoga. You could use something where you take a deep breath and really listen to your body, because that's the first way to start healing. The body is a wonderful machine, and it doesn't always fix itself without help. It needs help. It needs you to take your time and take that deep breath. So, yeah. Did I answer your question?
You did answer the question.
Okay, good.
I guess that makes me think about my own self-education into meditation, which is literally less than a year old. And I remember how difficult it was for me to just sit still and just breathe. And and just what you just said, as far as when you really take a breath and it is actually work, and you feel like you're doing something, as opposed to the shallow, quick things that we normally do throughout our day. So yeah, that was a great answer.
Okay. So go ahead.
Part of what you do is not part of what you do. What you do is related to the body-mind connection.
Yes.
How would you what would you say is a good way to do both those things at once? Can you give an example or examples of some activities that would be fun? Because a lot of a lot of what people don't like is that stuff isn't fun, and for most people, if it's not fun, they're just not going to do it. And so is there a way to make it enjoyable and not this big thing where, like you mentioned before, taking time, where maybe something like quick and fast that somebody could do to shift?
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite things to do before my knees stopped working was to go dancing. Now, because music really does change your body, or not change your body, it can, when the music hits you right, if it's the right kind of music and it really inspires you or makes you feel good, listening to music is one thing, but listening to music and moving with it is the other. And you notice sometimes people are just doing it in the car.
Right.
They pulled up to a stoplight and there's some music hitting them and they're singing and they're dancing, and they've forgotten that they're sitting in the middle of traffic and they're having a moment. That's the fun moment. Now that's the one where they've lost control, right? Because they're driving and they're in traffic. But you can do the same thing at home. You can do the same thing at home, put on the music, literally dance around the house. Sometimes it's just the act of listening to the music and letting your body move that can be fun, and it can let out a lot of stress. So that's just one thing that I know there are people that like to do it, but they probably don't do it as often as they should. Like maybe just taking 10 minutes out of the week when you're waiting for something to come on television that you want to watch. It's like, well, I don't have time to do anything, but you got 10 minutes because something's going off, but your show is getting ready to come on. Turn it to the music channels, if you have cable, or turn on the radio, or turn on, the Pandora. Turn it on to a station where you've got some good dance music, and you can dance around for 10 minutes, get some sweat going. You don't have to join a gym in order to do this. You just dance around the house, and that really does help to boost your own internal hormones, the feel-good hormones that you get, like when they say like a runner's high. When you release those endorphins and enkephalins, it helps your body. It boosts your immune system. So that's one really fun thing. So dancing. What I did today, going to the beach and just letting just sitting with the water, letting it wash over your feet, and just listening to the ocean waves at the beach, if you can get to it, that's a wonderful thing. If it's something like sitting in a park or going for a walk when the weather's nice, if it's not too hot, a nice evening stroll, that's good. And that can be fun. Turning on a comedy is another one. A good laugh will help boost your immune system. They literally have laughing yoga now, I think, I think it's called laughing yoga. And I haven't seen it practiced, but I've seen them advertise it, on different news shows where they literally just start laughing. And once you start laughing, you know how infectious that can be, and how other people will start laughing, and the groups get together and they just laugh, and that helps to boost your immune system. So if you don't have anyone around you, putting on a little comedy, something that is going to make you laugh. I know there are people who watch some movies, like, let me tell you, the one that I'll put in is Friday. And just because I know the lines and I know I'm going to laugh, I will put that in when I want a good laugh and just laugh. And it doesn't have to be the whole movie, and it doesn't have to be at the start. I might go to a scene that I know just cracks me up, and I'll watch it, and I'll be good, right? Just because I want to get a laugh out. Okay. So that's something else you could. So getting a laugh, dancing a little bit, feeling the sun, all of those really good, fun things that you can do. And I'm sure that there are things that people do that they think are fun. They just don't know how to connect to it all the time. You just have to find a way to connect to it at least once a week to help boost your immune system. Don't try and do this every day. This is not something that I want people to say, oh, well, I have to laugh a certain minutes of the day or anything like that. Taking 30 seconds out to breathe is the first thing. That's the first thing. And then taking another 5 to 10 minutes at least once a week to help boost your immune system. Get a laugh. Start small. It'll be a lot easier to listen to your body when you start small. Don't try and start off doing something too much, because it's too much to integrate into your life. It's too much.
And I think it would probably turn into something that wasn't as relaxing as intended it to be, because you turned it into a structured job for yourself to to have some fun. Like, let's
That's
pencil that into the agenda.
That's exactly right. And that's why a lot of times people start off with the right intention of, starting a health routine where they're going to go to the gym 3 times a week and they're going to eat these kinds of foods, and they try and do everything at once, and it lasts about 60 days. If it lasts 60 days. The gyms really, really depend on you in January for starting your new year with all these changes, and you're going to make this commitment and you're going to do it, and people have all the best intentions, but they're trying to do too much too fast. It's like anything else. When you're baking a cake or anything that you're doing, you got to start small. I just read something earlier today that was talking about Coca-Cola they only sold 25 bottles of Coca-Cola the first year, right?
Wow.
And we know Coca-Cola is a very big business, but 25 is what they sold the first year. So think about it. In order to have success, you have to start small and accept little pieces of progress and say, you know what? I was able to do this week, so now I'm going to try and do that. If you're going to try and walk, I don't say walk for a half an hour. I say walk for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is more than 0. If you're only walking from your car to the house, or the car to the job and back to the car and back into the house, if you spend 5 more minutes walking, that's 5 more minutes than you had the week before. So you start off walking 5 minutes, and then you walk 10 minutes. But don't do it until you've got 5 minutes so easy that your body's saying, you know what, I'll just do 10, right? And then you say, all right, well, I've been doing 10 now, and I feel like I can do 15. But don't try and start off doing 20, because then you'll say, oh, I don't have 20 minutes to walk today, and then you don't have 20 minutes to walk the next day, and then so it goes, right? You start small, because anything that you want to do is going to take at least 21 days to make the change. That takes 21 days of consistency in order to see a change. So starting small is how you do that.
Okay.
Little small bits.
Okay.
And I think if anyone's doing personal inventory, you just say, what have I done in the last 48 hours that said I had some fun, or that I did something to take care of myself? And if you go to answer that question for yourself, what are you going to come up with? What did you do in your day-to-day that allows for change? 48 hours. We're at the end of Sunday. We've had all weekend, and I don't know what people's work schedule and life schedule is like, but we're at the end of, what would have been 48 hours since people would have left a 9 to 5 on Friday. What have you done to take care of yourself? What kind of fun did you have, right? And is it fun that was good for you, or is it fun that was not so good for you? So take a look at that as well.
Okay. You are listening to Tien, Sydnor-Campbell, and this is Monique Anderson with the Red Panty Society. Please feel free to join our conversation. There's a Q&A section where you can type in your questions for Tien to answer. Tien, let me ask you this. Would you say what you just described sounded to me like someone training for a race? Because I remember when I started running, reluctantly started running, I'll just preface it that way, that I wanted to be able to just, go right to a 5K immediately, like that week. And my body was like, no, not yet. So there was a lot of walking, running at the beginning. So it's almost like what you're saying is you're training. You're training yourself to take care of yourself, because back to women again in our many, many hats, we're basically conditioned to handle everything, and not only handle it, but be able to handle it at least looking graceful, even though usually most of us on the inside are anything but graceful. But it appears that way. So do you think that sort of adds to the stress? And would you say that the discrepancy between what things appear to be and what they actually are could be considered a traumatic situation, or traumatic or trauma, I should say?
Wait a minute. Okay, back up. Say that for me one more time.
Okay. We women are conditioned to handle multiple things.
Okay.
And not only handle it, but handle it in a manner that appears to be graceful, so that we don't look flustered about anything.
Yes.
So we have this armor of strength that
Mm.
we wear.
Mm-hmm.
But really, for most people, that's not who you are all the time. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's who we are a lot of the times, but sometimes that's just not who you are. Do you think that discrepancy could be considered a trauma?
A trauma. Well, okay. Yes and no. And I'm going to say the yes is because it depends on what it is that you're trying to look strong for, right? So if you're trying to look strong in the midst of a very bad home life, or you are trying to stand strong in the face of an employment situation that is literally killing you, right?
Okay.
In those ways, it can be traumatizing because you're putting on a face in order to save face. Like, I, so for instance, if it's because of a job and you've got a job situation where you've got a horrible boss, or you've got a set of horrible supervisors, or whatever it is that you're doing is not bringing you joy on a day-to-day basis, but you're just grateful to have a job
Hmm.
and staying strong, that's one way of really denying yourself what you really need. And it's really it's self-sabotage, or it can be literally damaging to you. So in that way, it can be traumatic, and it takes its toll, depending on how long you stay in those situations. um, One of the things that I thought was the most interesting piece of um, uh, I don't know if I want to call it research, because I can't remember if it came out of research, but to find out that elementary school principals have very short life expectancies.
Hmm.
And they have short life expectancies because they have given their all. By the time they hit retirement, if they can get there, they've blown all the tires out of their car, okay, so to speak. They have a very short life expectancy. Now, that's not to say all the teachers and all the people that are principals are going to die in early death, but they have the shortest life expectancy of a profession. And you would think, because of doing something like being an elementary school principal, it wouldn't be that hard, because 9 times out of 10, they love the kids, they love what they do it for that reason. But it's because they're so stressed out at work that it's literally tearing them apart. You don't get short life expectancies because your work is so enjoyable and it gives you a long life, right? It happens because you're stressed out. So if it can be what those kinds of things, then those traumatic, that trying to keep a brave face in the face of everything that's going on, it's not so good for you. But keeping a brave face in the face of things that are going on that's normal, like, well, I'm dealing with, say you're dealing with cancer already, or like me, you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis. I, I'm putting on a brave face when I feel like it. If I don't feel like putting on the brave face, I'm not gonna. I
Okay.
just won't. I'll just let it be what it is on that day. So putting on a brave face, sometimes it's like, yeah, I feel good enough today to be out. And so, yeah, and so it looks like a brave face, but it's like, yeah, I'm feeling good enough to feel good, so I feel good. But I will listen to my body. And if it's saying, no, I don't feel so good, then I'm okay with that as well. And
Okay.
so I think a lot of people have to be comfortable. This is the other thing, and I think that's part of our societal conditioning. When someone says, hey, how are you today? The automatic response is, I'm great, or I'm fine, right? Everything's okay. Everything's right in my world. But what if we were to actually be honest when someone said, how are you today? And you said, I'm not so hot, right? That would invite the conversation. So I'm very mindful when I ask the question of anyone that I would like the truth. So if someone actually asked me that question and I'm not feeling so hot, I'll literally say, I'm not so hot today, you know? And
And
it's
on a
okay.
personal note, you are one of the few people I know who actually does give a different answer.
It's
When
really,
when someone asks you how you're doing, you actually do respond based on how you're doing right then. And and I think that that not only is a admirable quality, because like you said, it keeps things transparent, because you could be telling somebody that you're fine when you're really falling apart, and they may be the person to maybe help you not totally crumble on the spot. But if you're not honest about that, then no one would know. And I
no,
think
and
what you said was very very profound is that for the most part, as a society, we have mastered this facade of all rightness. I can't think of another word.
Well, that's exactly right.
Despite my advanced vocabulary, all rightness is what comes out of my mouth. But so that's so. Do you think would that be considered keeping a positive attitude, or is that more? That seems more hopeful to me than. And I don't know if that's for whatever reason, positive and hopeful are two different things to me.
They're very different.
So I'm thinking what you just described to me spoke to having a hopeful attitude as opposed to always presenting this positive front.
That's right. And it's a lot easier to be around people that are having positive. And I know that there are some times when you see someone complaining on, I will just use Facebook as an example. When you see someone complaining on Facebook and you're saying, oh no, not again, they're complaining. To me, I'm like, if they're complaining, then there's probably a legitimate complaint. Now, it's one thing if they're complaining every once in a blue moon. It's another thing if they're complaining all the time. Then they're just complainers. They're not going to really do anything different. But if on a general note, you know, what they're posting or commenting on is positive or insightful, then that's one thing. And then every once in a while they're negative, then that's more honest than someone who's positive, and more positive, and they never have anything wrong. And you're saying to yourself, does this person have a perfect life? Do they exist? I mean, you know, they don't.
Like they live in a bubble of positivity.
Yes, and I understand why they would do it, because they're like, yes, positive is going to bring positive into my life, but we have to also remember there's such a thing called balance. And you can't have positive without negative. That's the yin and the yang of the Eastern philosophy. You have to have negative because it brings balance to the positive. You have to have dark in order to have light. You have to have light in order to have dark. You wouldn't know the one from the other if you didn't have the opposite. So we have to accept that people have those as their part of their personality. And the more we can accept people for who they are, then the less they'll have to pretend to be someone that they're not. Because what happens when you are doing all this pretending is pretending that everything is okay, and it's not. And you can't get help when you're pretending that everything is okay. You can't even ask for help. And that's something that the community of color really needs. We need to be able to say, oh, I need help.
Okay. Do you think that's why, because of the circumstances and the difficulties that a lot of specifically, like you just brought it up, people of color experience, that their situation, maybe they tend to sort of ignore it, and that's what's causing this, this just, I don't know if it's, I know it's not just me, but this proliferation of videotaped violence that's going on right now, this undercurrent of angry, I don't even know what you would call it, but just this, there's a whole segment of the internet traffic that is solely devoted to people having fist fights. And I mean, I'm a seasoned woman, and I don't think I've ever seen a real fight in person since maybe junior high.
Right.
And so to now see it literally at your fingertips and outside the realm of the movies it unnerves me. I don't even know how else to say other than it's just disturbing that people actually engage in it and promote it. So how would you is there something that can be done about that? How do you start to shift that back to a level of humanity? Because that seems to be what's going on, is that if you reduce somebody else's humanity, it's really easy to put them in a box as not a real person.
Okay, there's a couple of things that you said that have...
I'm sorry, that was a long one.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the first thing that you said was about the first thing that came to mind while you were talking was when you said that there's all these fights are being taped, and people are taking out, their cell phones because it's got that camera feature, and they're videotaping it, and they're not stopping the fights, right?
Right.
All right. So part of that is, yes, we've become desensitized. And I was talking with a girlfriend of mine earlier today because there was an accident where there was a carjacking here, and the carjacking actually ended up running into 3 children, well, killing 3 children and critically injuring their mother while they were out selling fruit and vegetables at a stand because the carjackers lost control of the car and hit them and killed them, and got out of the car and ran away. And so one of the things that happened was in my Facebook news feed, someone had literally been there and taped it. They not taped the accident, but the aftermath. So they walked around showing all the people that were on the ground. And all I could think was, I can't believe they didn't put it down to start helping, right? They literally were walking around as if they were the cameraman on a set, just, documenting the damage, but they weren't lending a hand in any way. I think that's part desensitization, right? Or the situation that made national news where the little girl was the only one trying to break up a fight when her mother was being attacked by someone, and all these other adults were standing around videotaping it, but the 3-year-old was the only one trying to stop it. So no one wants to stop it because they don't want to get involved, and they also just want to document it, right? So they want to stand back and let someone else take care of it. So we do have that desensitization. But I think the bigger question is how lost we have become in terms of how we are with being touched. And what people are looking for is loving touch. And because they've been starved of touch, because we are a touch-starved society, they are now hitting each other so that they can be touched. Right? So we know athletes do this because a lot of times male children don't get touched as much after a certain age because we want them to what? Quote unquote, man up, right? Be a man and not be touched as much, not need hugs or hand holding when something is wrong. So they don't do it as much. So they slap each other, slap each other on the butts or the backs or whatever, and they hit each other playing football, and they run into each other, and so they're physically running into each other all the time. But that's because as humans need to be touched. They need loving touch a lot. They need it a lot, and they need it throughout their lives. They need it as babies, they need it as teenagers, they need it as adults, they need it as the elderly. There's no point in time where you cease to need to be touched, because being touched allows you to keep your humanity. And we've got this very low touch society. People got to keep their hands to themselves. That's the first thing we teach the kids when they go to school. Keep your hands to yourself, right? And everybody's keeping their hands to themselves, and then everybody's afraid to touch anybody for any reason. I love hugging people. I'm a hugger. I'm a great big hugger. I'm not really big on handshakes unless I really have to, but my hands hurt, so I'm definitely I'm definitely ready to, I definitely prefer the hugs. But I think that speaks to our touch-starved society. So if I was going to create my ideal remedy, remedy, I'd be prescribing a great deal of hugs to a great many people so that they can feel their humanity, because they are out of touch, and our bodies are wired for those kinds of connections.
Okay.
So that's my own personal take on that. But I think that in terms of turning that off, I think as a society we have to say enough is enough. We have to say enough is enough. And I say enough is enough, and I'm the person that won't tune into the channel. I vote with my feet or my viewing habits. I have not ever watched the reality shows that I know a lot of people watch, especially the ones where I hear them talking about, oh, they were fighting, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my, why are grown women fighting on television? That just doesn't make any sense to me that you would want to watch that. And I know that there are people who watch it and they're entertained by it, and that's fine. But I don't believe that does anything to bring society forward, or to put us in a positive light, or help us to understand each other better. And that's probably the hippie in me, but that's where I stand. So I vote with my dollars and my viewing time. So I won't give it any time if it's not something that helps my world.
Right. And I think with reality shows, since you brought that up as one of your points, I think for a lot of people who have a similar conscience as yours, I'm in the same boat with you, by the way.
Mhm.
I think I would be more apt to look at them or view them if I knew there was something coming out of that was maybe moving toward a resolution, not even a resolution, but as far as creating an environment where the people involved were being elevated somehow beyond thinking that going to fisticuffs is really an answer for an adult woman to use to solve anything.
Mhm.
Um, so I think as far as, and I'm going to get off the reality shows because I could stay up on that soapbox all night. But I think that's my real problem with that that quick that what they're sensationalizing and the imagery and the impression that they're giving about women and their inability to cohabitate or even interact on a seemingly surface level. It's almost like we can't walk, like a woman can't walk past another woman without feeling this thing, which I think for the majority of women is not their reality, but it's what's put out there as as our reality. So let's get off that because
That's an easy one to go down. But you
that's
know what? It actually goes into part of our platform with Dear Yvette and the fact that misogynistic lyrics have a play in how we see ourselves. So that culture of degradation exists in our television. It exists in popular music, and like we were, part of our platform is we just have to be responsible. We have to ask for responsibility now.
and that's a very good point because it is and it's been as long as there have been entertainment and documented entertainment, there's always been some person or group of people or a segment of the population that's been relegated to being um, ridiculed
Hmm.
or dehumanized for the amusement of other people. I mean, you can go back to the gladiator days when the quote unquote slaves, which were the gladiators, were thrown into a ring to be killed, and the whole city is watching. These people they're being mauled and destroying each other for the amusement of the royal family. So it's always I think been a part of a society, and I'm wondering if it's something that can be eradicated because it's always been there, and we're gonna always need somebody to basically look down on, and
That's yeah.
so
You don't know what's up until you can look and see what's down. So it's kind of
exactly.
a weird and it's a weird place, and we don't want to think about. I mean, I can have a utopian idea in my head, and I know that it's a long way from that. But I think I can create it in my day to day.
Right.
And so if I can create peace and harmony, knowing good and full
Hmm.
well that there is enough evil in the world to go around, I can stay on track with what I need to deal with in my
Yeah,
day to day. Right.
it's the man in the mirror thing, and
Hmm. And
you
that's
know
where we're at. That's
and I
exactly where
think
we're at.
I really um I think just in a simple way that we as women can kind of start to turn the tide is if you see a woman and she's beautiful, I don't understand people who don't say that. It's
Oh.
like you've looked at her and you say it to the person next to you, wow, she's pretty. But
Hmm.
she'll walk by and nobody says a word. And for the people who are listening, as an experiment amongst yourselves, the next time you see someone who is attractive, male or female, just tell them and watch the reaction because we don't push each other up like that.
No.
And it's a
It's
little and when the response comes back, you're beautiful too. It's almost like, well, why didn't you tell me? But we're not conditioned to do that because we're in this quote unquote competition that someone told us we were in.
right. Well, I believe that at some point someone said you have to learn how to accept a compliment. And I know the difference between street harassment and compliments.
Right.
And I can accept a compliment, and I can even manage the street harassment and just keep moving. And it's probably because I put a very serious face on when I say thank you and keep walking. That's it. Like, I'm not going to engage. There's nothing to engage in.
Right.
I'm going to keep it moving. But and that's something that women have to, as a part of our, I don't know, it's a part of our DNA or the cultural, the culture that we live in, that we have to know how to navigate the difference between someone just giving a genuine comment and someone, with street harassment, and just knowing when to ignore and when to just say thank you and keep walking, or, pass the word back on again, like, you are so beautiful, thank you very much, or your hair is so nice, thank you, and keep moving,
Right.
say thank you, keep it moving. Or if in some cases, and you are too, have a great day and keep it moving.
Right.
To accept those is one thing, but yeah, it is difficult to get people to open up their mouths. I know, because living in a very urban city like Philadelphia, I had more than one person tell me when I moved here, oh, city of Philadelphia is going to wipe that smile right off your face. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, you don't know my smile. And so obviously I've been here 13, 14 years now, and it hasn't been wiped off, because you can't wipe my smile off because it's mine. There's no reason for it to. I can be sad about things. It doesn't change my general state of being, which is happy. That's my general state. So I'll just stay there. Thank you.
Okay. So do you think that it is, you mentioned earlier that it is it's basically a muscle that you have to flex on a regular basis to
Absolutely.
to keep it toned. And would you say that and I think you just answered my question. I probably should have asked it before, when you said that there's a line between being complimentary and being offensive. And my question was, can there be a misunderstanding? And you already answered the question.
Well, yes, there absolutely can, because sometimes I know that there are some times that men generally just want to give a woman a compliment, and women, because they've had so many men harass them, not be able to accept it.
Right.
Like, they have a hard time accepting a compliment because they think someone wants something. And that's not all men. And so we do have to, I can't say we have to, but it'd be good if we could just not judge all men by some men, right? It's difficult.
Some people really are just polite,
They're just
and not
polite,
everybody
right?
is flirting. And I think
That's right.
I think we have to remember that, because I've been accused of flirting when I was just,
Being polite.
I was just being me. I'm a social person, and if a person is, within reach, chances are, within the next 30 seconds of me standing there, we are gonna say hello, and you will speak to me. And that can be construed as something else, because so few people make eye contact with other people and
Well,
actually engage.
we were taught sometime in the 70s, when people started having to deal with kids getting kidnapped a lot, right? So kids were being
Right.
kidnapped, and sometime in the 70s it started being a thing of, we can't trust strangers, and we
Right.
can't trust strangers, and we can't trust our kids around strangers, and don't talk to strangers, right? And you find yourself not being able to know who's really a stranger, because if everyone that you've never met is a stranger, then how will you ever meet new people?
Right.
Okay. But it also does not allow for you to build up your own gut instinct, because there are times when I will literally have times, if someone is approaching, where the hairs on the back of my neck will stand up, and I think to myself, get to safety, right? But
Right.
that's because I'm very much in touch with my gut instinct, and I don't know if it's because I can feel the energy or whatever it is, I know how to say, time to be safe, like, guard up. But if you're a person who thinks that you have to have your guard up all day, every day, and guard against people who just want to say hello, then you really don't know what's going on in your world. You're not aware. Your body is not even here. You're probably in your headspace, and your body is just here. Like, you're just disconnected. And that's what I find with a lot of clients. So if we want to take the conversation back to the body, right? We know a lot of us live in our head. We live in our head, we walk around in our head, and we stay in our head, and the rest of our body really gets ignored. For women in particular, it's not until you've put on 40, 50, 60 pounds that you look down at the mirror and you say, oh my goodness, when did that happen, right? Like, ugh. But that's because it's easy to live in your head and not with the body that you're walking around with. So to pay attention to your body when it's saying, yeah, I know you're not feeling so hot, but filling your stomach up with this potato chip or this ice cream, not so hot. It's you're beating yourself up even more because that's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any good. And you know it, right?
Okay.
So it's like taking people and taking, especially for my clients, and my clients tend to be people who have been traumatized and have been sent to therapy. And so if they have been sent to therapy, it's because something significant has happened and it's warranted this kind of attention. But my approach is not so much just for the mental piece of it, but for them to connect their mind to their body so that we can figure out how to process that material so that it can exit, so that it can get out. So whatever it takes to get that out, for you to be able to process that material so that it no longer has the hold and control over you that it does, that's causing you not to be able to sleep or have, not to be able to go to work, or restless nights, insomnia, anything like that, to be able to process that material so that you can have, so that you can live your best life.
Okay. So would you say, you said that your clients primarily come to you as a result of
it's been the history.
It's a mandated therapeutic situation.
Not necessarily mandated, but there's been something significant that's happened that's brought them into therapy. I would like to. My dream work is to be able to meet people where we're in a preventative stage before it has taken control and gotten out of control. If I can meet people in a preventative space before everything has gone haywire, as just like people go, my dream is that people come or video chat me for body-centered psychotherapy like an annual checkup, right? As opposed to when something has gone wrong. Because just like you go to the doctor for an annual and they take your blood pressure, make sure that's fine, and they do a blood draw and make sure your cholesterol's fine, and listen to your heart, make sure it's going good, and ask you if you've got anything going on, right? So you go to an annual visit and you get a clean bill of health. You should also have someone that you do for mental check-ins. And a lot of times, and I'm going to speak to just the women of color, we don't see mental health as something that needs to be addressed until there's a problem. Right? I only want to talk to someone when there's a problem. But guess what? You're a human. And so if you don't take the time to talk to someone, to process things that have gone on, then you're probably holding on to things for a little bit longer than you'd like. And then that gets into our platform of forgiveness and forgiving everything that's ever happened to you so that you can live, right? Forgive to live. So figuring out when it's time to let something go. I've had friends who literally held on to something, for 17, 20 years. 15, 20 years of holding on to something that happened, and they haven't moved past it. And they think they've moved past it because they say, well, I'm over that. But guess what? If you're still talking about it 15 years later, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's sitting front and center in your head, and I know it and you know it, but if you want to pretend that it doesn't have a hold over you, I'm going to let you until you don't feel like letting it have a hold over you anymore. So that's that forgiveness piece that we're walking around with that I think a lot of people just don't realize how much they're holding on to. They're holding on to the past because they're not ready to let it go. And you can just kind of look around your life and figure out what it is that you need to let go of. Try and have a yard sale. See how easy it is to get rid of your stuff. And then try and have a yard sale for the things in the past. Like, how easy would it be if you could put a price tag on letting it go, how much would it cost for you to say, all right, I'm done with it, right? And let it go.
Right. You brought up forgiveness, and when most people think about forgiveness and forgiving, it's always external. It's always, I need to forgive, X, Y, and Z, and we leave ourselves out of that equation. And I think a lot of that may be because it's more difficult to look at yourself. The mirror is a hard thing to deal with sometimes. So even if someone doesn't have what they think are the perfect tools for forgiveness, would you say that a good practice, a good simple practice, would be just say it, even if you don't really feel it necessarily? It's kind of like learning the Lord's Prayer. Like when children learn the Lord's Prayer, they just they're just reciting whatever it is you tell them to recite.
Right.
So maybe until they have some life experience with whatever they have, then they maybe start to apply some meaning and some emotion behind our Father who are in heaven. And you kind of get that, and you get a chill when you say it because you've learned something.
That you feel it.
Right. So would you say that as a simplistic way of starting the whole forgiveness process, which would probably lead into a more balanced body-mind connection, we just start with saying, I forgive myself, and just leaving it right there?
I love and accept myself. I love and accept myself is the first thing. And then beyond that, especially if you know something that needs to be forgiven, right? If you know that it's something that's holding you up, it's holding you back, it's holding you down, it's stopping you from moving forward, then you have to say, you know what, this is the thing I'm going to have to let go of. If it means that there's someone that you feel like you haven't forgiven, it's really you haven't forgiven yourself for feeling that way about them. But to write a letter, if they're not alive, or if you don't feel comfortable being able to say it, writing a letter, saying everything that you really want to say. And then also saying, I forgive you, and I'm going to forgive myself for holding on to this as long as I have. There are lots of books that help people to start to forgive, but just simply saying, I'm going to forgive you, and not in that way that I think that we learned about, say, forgive me for something that I've done, and it's very simple, and it doesn't really tie into a real forgiveness, that it goes beyond just saying, I forgive you, and then you hold it in the back of your jaw for the rest of your life, and you wonder why you've got TMJ dysfunction, because it always ends up in your body, and that's, and that's where you typically would find it. Things that you have not said to people hold themselves up in your neck and your jaw. So if you're someone that's listening and you have neck or jaw problems, there might be something that you feel like you haven't said that needs to be forgiven, right? And that's how we know that there's stuff that literally hangs out in your body, because it's in your mind. So if it's in your mind, it's in your body.
Wow. Once again, we are listening to Tien Sydnor-Campbell, and this is Monique Anderson with the Red Panty Society. Please visit our website at www.theredpantysociety.org. Tien, we have about 3 minutes, I guess. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I would say if someone is going to start making changes, what I want you to really, there's 3 things that I want you to be able to do, if there's 3 things that I want you to kind of keep in mind in terms of moving forward. All right, so the first thing with that breath is being mindful. Being mindful of your breathing and what flows out of your mouth, right? There's that Kermit meme is going around the internet, and he's sipping on tea, and I was just having a laugh earlier about that. Being mindful, taking an extra breath before you let something flow out of your mouth. Replace some of that negative thinking, some of the stuff that, is like automatic response. Replace it with something that comes from a place of love, right? So be mindful, replace, and release the things that you have no control over. Release them, because easier it becomes for you to release the things that you have no control over, the less angry you'll be, the less you'll hold on to, the less you'll need to forgive later. So be mindful, replace, and release. Replace that thinking and release it if you can't control it.
It's like all the basic things that, and I promised myself I wouldn't say this, but the things that your mother always told you, which is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
For a
Listen
reason.
more than you speak.
Yes, there you go.
Listen more than you speak. And what I just took from what you said is a lot of things that cause a lot of angst and rob us of a lot of time and energy and just joyfulness is being consumed by external circumstances and situations that you can't change it once it's happened, and you can't control what anybody else does. But the one thing that is in total control of you is your attitude and how you interact with the rest of the world.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely. There we go. Okay.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this time with you.
I have enjoyed this time with you as well.
Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next chat.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.